Hello, and welcome to the Wayfaring Panda. I'm Annette. Today I'm making some Christmas cards that are going to be from the dog, and I'm using this Mama Elephant stamp set called Playful Pups because it has a stamp that looks like a schnauzer, and that's the type of dog that we have. Now, this video is part of a hop with Team Tiny, and I'll tell you more about that in a little bit. I'm just using an A2 size card base to make the card, and you can either get a pre-made one or you can cut a 8.5 times 11 inch piece of cardstock in half and then fold that in half. And I'm stamping a sentiment from the stamp set, and it says, "Wishing you peace and love and wags." And this stamp set is actually an everyday stamp set, but I thought that sentiment sounded like Christmas, so that's what I'm using. And this shows most of the things I'm using on this weren't specifically Christmas, but it all comes together to look like a Christmas card. I'm making 2 panels to go on my card, and this first one I got is some plaid paper, and I'll list what type it is below. I had this for a while, so it may not be available anymore, but you can use whatever kind of plaid cardstock that you have. Now, this one particularly came from a Christmas collection, but I bought it actually to make a photo album for my previous dog because she was a black schnauzer, so I thought this kind of black and red plaid would look good with a photo album of our schnauzer. I plan on doing some heat embossing, so I'm going over my paper with my embossing buddy, which just puts a powder over the top of the paper so the embossing powder only sticks where you stamp. For the embossing, I'm using the stamp set from Dare to be Artzy, which is called Pet Lovin', and I'm using the large paw print and the corners at the top of my plaid paper. Now I'm going to make 2 cards, so that's why I have 2 pieces of plaid paper. So if you're going to do multiple cards, it's easier to do each step twice and why you have everything out. So if you're going to make multiple Christmas cards or birthday cards or whatever you're making, it helps if you make more than one at a time. So I'm just stamping it with my VersaFine Clair. I find that does stamp really bright black, and then of course it stays wet long enough to do the embossing powder. And I find that this method, using the black ink with the clear embossing powder, is a lot easier than using black embossing powder. Plus, if you're using clear embossing powder and colored inks, you don't need as many colors of embossing powder. And then the fun part is using the heat tool and watching the plastic melt on the black, and it gets really shiny. I like to do the tool underneath and then go to the front so you're not getting the heat as long on the top of the paper so you don't burn it. I cut out 2 panels of Bristol smooth cardstock to go at the bottom of my card, and I'm doing the same embossing technique on this by going over it with my embossing buddy, and then I'm going to stamp it with my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink, which is the black ink. And I'm going to use another stamp from the same Dare to be Artzy set, but this is a row of paw prints. I'm using Bristol smooth cardstock because I'm going to do the embossed resist technique with some ink blending. So with that, you use the embossing and then you go over it with an ink that will resist the embossed area. And this way the paw prints will show through. So I'm using some Fired Brick Distress ink because that kind of matched the paper. I got a little dark spot here, so I'll have to go over it quite a bit to get rid of that. Now, you could also do the Distress ink and then do your embossing, but the problem with that is the Distress ink gets your paper fairly wet, so you have to let it dry, and then if you don't get it dry enough and you do the embossing powder will stick to your paper. Although doing it this way, if you got any of the clear embossing powder in parts you don't want it, the ink is going to resist that and there'll be little spots of white, which you'll see that does happen. There's a little splotch there, but I figured, oh well, it goes with the handmade look. Next, I'm using some Copic friendly paper, which is Heavenly White, and using Lawn Fawn Jet Black ink to stamp my images that I'm going to color. So I'm using my dog from the stamp set I showed you at the beginning, and then I have a Santa hat, which is from Lawn Fawn's Hats Off to You set. So that's how I'm Christmasifying my dog. I'm trying to draw my dog kind of how she looks. She is a schnauzer, but she's kind of white with black spots. And I'm going to recolor that because the first one you see here, she has black whiskers, but really she has white whiskers. And here I'm just using R46 and R29 to do my hat. And I'm just using those because those are the closest color I have to my card. Here I'm going to try to color my dog again with white whiskers. I'm giving her a red color because it matches the hat. And I'm just using the light gray to do the tag and the darker 100 to do her nose and tail. But you'll see here I'm having trouble getting the ink to come out of the end. Now this is a newer marker, at least new to me. Hopefully it was new at the shop. And I'm not getting much out. Now I did replace the broadband tip with a small tip, and I don't know if I did use it on the previous dog and didn't have any trouble. Now I've heard sometimes the ink will come out more of one end that you're using, then you open the other end and it equalizes out, which I can see that side's more juicy and there's ink coming out the other end that I'm not using. So if any of you know how to solve that problem, please let me know. For the rest of the dog, I'm just using my W colors, and I do try to put them on the screen so that you can see that. I will list them in the description below. So for the areas that's white, I'm just trying to use the lighter markers, which is my W00, my W1s, just to give a hint of color. And generally she is pretty white, but there is some coloration also in the hair. And on your picture, you don't want to just leave everything completely white. Now I did leave my hat in the area where it would be white because I'm going to add something later. Now I don't get all the spots exactly how it would be. Here I'm using the 100. I forgot it wasn't working. Because if I colored my dog how she really is, her eyes wouldn't show up because she's mostly white on her face with just a little strip down the face, and then the whiskers are white. And now the tail and where I'm coloring on her bottom is black where I put it, and over on this side I couldn't get it exactly because this dog doesn't face exactly where her spots are, but I wanted to give kind of the same type of image that she is. And I also didn't want to put too much black around the eyes, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see the eyes. Next, I glue my panels to my card, so I'm putting the plaid at the top and the red piece on the bottom. And I apologize, I thought I had the card on my screen, but as you can tell, I got part of the left-hand side cut off. I don't know if I moved the camera or if I zoomed in after I thought I had it done. Now here you see I'm getting a little bit of glue over on the side, and I just use a wet rag to get that off, but then it takes off some of the distress ink. So I'm going to come back with that and fix it later. I showed this just to show that you can make mistakes and fix it. It is just paper. So now I'm just going to go ahead and glue the panels on my other card. Then I'm just using this thin gold glitter washi tape that I had in my stash, and I'm just putting that where the two pieces of paper meet. And I think that really makes it look Christmassy and gives it some extra pizzazz. Then I'm just using some foam squares to attach my dog to the card. I made this video as part of a hop with Team Tiny. We're all channels that have less than 1,000 subscribers, so we really appreciate your support by liking our videos and subscribing to our channels to help us grow. So hop along and you'll get more holiday inspiration. I also hear there's at least one, maybe two people giving away prizes. So as you hop along, just listen and you'll find out what the prizes are and what you need to do to enter for a chance to win the prizes. You also get some holiday inspiration. So like this card, I didn't take too long making these. So even if you haven't got your cards up, you can look through your stash, see what you have, and turn it into a Christmas card or a holiday card. Now to get to the other videos on the hop, all you have to do is type in the hashtag Team Tiny Holiday Hop 2021, or you can click the link in my description below for the hashtag. Then I just added foam squares to my hat and propped it up, and at the top of the hat I had to add double squares because it's sitting above the dog. And then I'm just using my crystal Stickles, and I had to squeeze hard. I'm getting kind of low on this, but I'm adding that to my Santa hat, so that's why I didn't color it. I decided the card needed some more embellishment. I had these, I don't know if they're sticky back jewels or what do you call them, and I was looking at these hollies, but I decided I like the red jewels better, so I just put a strip of those on the card. Then after I got that done, I noticed that I put my card decorations on upside down to the card, so I just cut off the front panel and glued that on another card base and stamped my sentiment inside that card. And that's how I solved that problem. So to fix the problem where I had to wipe off the glue, I just go over that area again with my Distress ink. So I just left this in so you can see everyone makes a mistake, including me putting in the front panel upside down. But as you can see, I just solved those problems. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you're not already a subscriber, I'd really appreciate if you could subscribe to my channel. I'll also leave a link to some other videos that I made for a Christmas project for this year for some more holiday inspiration. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for watching.